Trees are these incredible organisms. Aspen in particular, they have this interconnected root network. They're all the same organism, genetically identical. Any individual tree doesn't get to be that old, but the clone, the organism that's living underground and is sending up the stems, can live to be thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of years old. So it's potentially, we think, really one of the oldest, if not the oldest, type of organism on Earth. I grew up in Western Colorado and spent a lot of time in forests like these. When I was starting my graduate work, I actually came back to those same forests and found that a lot of places that I had spent time in as a kid were actually now more like moonscapes. The forests had died off, and there were, in essence, just these skeletal trees that were left of the places that I knew as a kid. That, I think, really started my path as a scientist. It sort of led to these very fundamental questions of what's going on here? You know, is this a sign of the future, and what can we do about it? We spend a lot of our time in sort of stressed and in some cases actually dying forests. When we see a stressed tree, we're going to take measurements on what's the water stress of this plant, carbon stress of this plant. Is it doing photosynthesis like a happy, healthy plant should be? Is it infected by any fungal pathogens or insects or viruses? All of these pieces help us build a picture based on fundamental plant physiology of, are these trees stressed or not? Are they gonna survive now, this summer, next summer? What does the future hold in the next century? The Southwest and Utah are really kind of ground zero for climate change impacts. We see climate change in these fires, beetle outbreaks, and severe droughts. And this is really the canary in the coal mine. We're starting to see climate change play out, and the Southwest in particular.
I'm out there in the forest kind of witnessing firsthand how the trees do respond to climate change. So the University of Utah is a really great place to do this research and help answer these questions.
One really key piece of our research is understanding the physiology of how trees die. Trees have to pull water from the soil up to their leaves, and when the soil gets really dry, during a drought, and the atmosphere is also quite hot and dry, they're pulling harder and harder on the water until eventually these water columns in the tree, they break. Looking at that stress back in time and seeing how much of the water transport tissue is alive in trees. And to do that, we often core into the trees to take our measurements. Every year the tree grows a new ring, like pages on a book, and we can actually go back in time and look at how have these trees responded over the past 10, 50, 100, 200 years. This ability to have our incredible landscapes as our sort of our living laboratory, it's a really amazing strength of the U as a location and a research university, and of the College of Science and the School of Biological Sciences. Big picture finding is that this is really the tip of the iceberg, that this is kind of the start of a massive reshuffling of our landscape. Many days I'm hopeful for the future. I think I'm most hopeful getting to interact with students and with postdocs, and I also get really inspired, and I'm quite hopeful when I am teaching and interacting with all the incredible undergraduates we have. I think there's a lot of reasons for hope in the future. I do think that the single most important thing we can do to safeguard our Western landscapes is to reduce the speed of climate change.